Welcome back, y'all. It is season 4, episode 6 of the Alpha Mentality podcast. Otis, it's going to be a
Six.
good one. Yeah,
We're at
6, man.
6. Okay. Well, let's do it, man. 6 of them in. I think we're gonna finish this thing off at 10 and build the anticipation for the next season. You guys know how close we are to lighting the fireplace. Hey Jeff, tell them about the fireplace.
I don't know if I'm going to have a fireplace, man. My house got flooded. They're about to rip up the whole floor. So I might lose that fireplace, but we're going to make something happen when we get to 100 episodes.
We're gonna find a Starbucks somewhere that has a fireplace. So for everybody that's listening and you're new to the podcast, when we first started this off in season 1, we had a physical location where we used to shoot inside of Jeff's house, and he has another room that has a fireplace that's it was in between us when we first started shooting. And I don't know, I think I said something silly one day, per usual. And I said, the 100th episode, you guys with us, we're gonna light this fireplace. Does that fireplace even light up?
It does have some respect, but the better question is, has it ever been lit up while I've lived here? It has not, but it does work. It's an actual wood fireplace, so I can light it up.
Oh, I see where the respect goes, right where the wood is. Nowhere, huh?
Pause.
Fired up, man. Well, glad to be back with the audience. Hey, you guys, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We got some pretty cool stuff going up. Jeff, I don't know if you want to mention a little bit about, the merchandise, maybe now or maybe later, but great opportunities in that. Really excited to be back with you guys. So today we're going to be discussing a topic where if you heard us, was it 2 episodes ago, when we were talking about our retreat and how we went up in the mountains. We got an opportunity to sit down with, I think, just like a generational mind. I'm not going to mention the gentleman's name just because I want to keep him anonymous as possible. But if you know, he's a co-founder of our firm, and he's been in our industry for, I think, 45, 46 years. So he's amassed this like great amount of talent and understanding and people. And we were just having a conversation with him. And Jeff, what was the topic of the situation that we're going to be introducing to the audience today? Because I feel like this is going to be a fun one. By the way, before you say something, if you get hit on this episode, we didn't intend to miss. Okay. Okay. By the way, it's like a casualty or an accident, because this is just going to be an absolute awesome conversation. So, what were we talking about at that breakfast that morning before we took off to the mountains?
Yeah, I remember that breakfast fondly because it's very rare that I'll pull out my phone and take notes at a breakfast, but this was one of those breakfasts where you had to do it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I did, because I got a lot of notes and nuggets. And this was the second note that I actually took in the breakfast, and then all my notes flooded in after these 3 points. Someone had asked a question around the table, something about, I can't remember, but I'll never forget the response. The response is what actually matter. I remember he was like, people have 3 problems right now in this
3.
country.
Yep.
Just 3. Their income is too small, their savings is too small, and their thinking is too small.
Wait a minute. So let that simmer in just for a little bit.
Yeah.
So right now, somebody's going, wait a minute, my income is too small. Okay, if my income is too small, that means I'm saving, right? But if my savings is small, and then outside of that, maybe I've gotten to the pattern of maybe these first 2, the understanding of it. But man, Jeff, you telling me that my thinking is too small? What do you mean by that?
Well, let's talk about the first one, because I feel like they all play a factor into each other. And I want to leave the thinking too small as probably our last point that we should touch on, because you're going to see how it all plays in together. So first one, income is too small. Otis, in the United States right now, do you think people are making enough money to survive?
Absolutely not. Strongly speaking, from a financial professional point of view, forget all the statistics. I'll tell you this. The average income in the United States right now is $62,000. Okay. So just consider this. I don't know where you live. Jeff and I, we happen to live in sunny Southern California. So to our international audience that's listening in Iceland and Russia and all of those old cold places, right? Well, I should say Greenland, not Iceland. I feel bad for you, right? But you can live anywhere, right? But just consider this. You think about what the averages are when it comes to bills. Most people are saving, I'm sorry, are living in places, what let's just call the median, let's just call it rent. Okay. $2,500. All right. So $2,500 grocery. What would you say grocery is, Jeff? Like a month.
A month?
A month.
At least.
No. Don't go crazy now. Okay. What would you say grocery is? We're talking like overall, like in America. I'm not talking about where you and Liz go grocery shopping.
Okay. I mean, I still think groceries at least like $300 a month. Okay. I think that's fair. And I think it's probably more, but let's just go $300 a month.
I would say it's a lot more than that. I would say if we're being small about it, I thought you were going to boost the number up. I would think that the average groceries are about $500 right now. Right?
That's what I was going to say, $300 to $500. Yeah.
I mean, it's more, right? But again, so now you're at $3,000 per month. Not to mention utilities. I'm just going to say that's another small amount of, let's just say that's $500. Okay. Now I'm exaggerating. $3,500. If you just do the math, you got to drive a car too. I forgot. I mean, what's a fair number we could use for a car?
You want to use fair? Or do you want to use the average car note right now in the United States?
You tell me what you think that number is.
The average car note is actually above $700 right now in the United States.
I was gonna say that. So let's just say let's just say 700 to make it a round number. In my mind, I'm calculating that's $4,200. Okay. So let me just pull out my handy calculator, and let's just say I got 4,200. Well, first let's do 62,000 average income, divide that by 12. That's going to give me 5,166. And I subtract $4,200. We haven't even talked about the other stuff. That means you have a discretionary income of $96. You know what else we haven't talked about? How much it costs for kids to live and take care of them.
Kids aren't expensive.
Oh man, you got one right now. You don't even know yet, right? You got baby number 2, and then you got to wait about 2 years for this even starts to calculate, right? But when you think about all of these numbers, we're leaving you with like $966. Mm-hmm. People don't have, they don't have enough money. So when we say like income too small, it's generally because you're capped from your job, the income that you make. I don't want to dare I say dead end job, right? Where you're living paycheck to paycheck. There's no control of your destiny. So Jeff, how the heck I'm right now? I got $966 barely, by the way. Okay, barely, because you still got to take your significant other out to dinner from time to time, right?
Right.
How the heck what's the solution to something like this?
You got to make more money. You literally can now out budget a low income. Think about that. You got $900. What are you realistically saving? You're not saving much. It's mathematically impossible for you to win that game. And I think, it's crazy because when I sit down with a lot of people, and just to show you how real this problem is, I think I sat down with someone today that we were supposed to have an interview. And one of the things she told me is, hey, look, this opportunity sounds great, but I need a stable job right now. And I'm like, I'm curious. Do you have a job currently right now? She said, I do. I'm like, do you have something on the side? She's like, I do. Clearly, it's not that stable. Like, if you needed the stable job, why isn't it producing enough income? People need more right now. I think what a lot of people don't realize is there's a skill problem they have. Their job can only pay them what they're worth. If they don't have a high enough skill set, it's not going to pay them more. So guess what you got to do? You got to get something where you can develop some skills and you actually can get paid what that skill is worth and what your time is worth. And that's not what's happening for a lot of people right now.
That's a fact. I mean, we have to be now, I don't know what you would call this era. It's got to, at the minimal, got to be the side hustle era at the minimal. I mean, I know, entrepreneur is the hot topic, the hot word, but I mean, if you got one source of income, it's too close to zero sources of income, because what we're doing, we're talking about lifestyle. Well, what happens if you get sick? God forbid. I just had a client today who chasing down for some time, and they call me and they go, hey, can I get XYZ? And we're looking through budget. We can't find any money. Why is that? Because their income is keeping them capped to where they are. They're making $70,000 to $100,000 a year, but they're spending most of it. And it's just like, we can't even eke that out for you. So it is a problem. when we're talking about, income too small, but there are solutions too. One of the solutions is, we just talked about side hustle. I don't know, maybe you go and open up an OnlyFans for your feet. I don't know, right? Do something. Do something nowadays, like we live in an era where you could go on, you can get on TikTok and make money. You can get on Instagram and make money. You can get on YouTube. You can go and do God knows whatever, right? Like, I don't want to make myself sound old-fashioned, like go and shovel a driveway or mow some lawns for money, but go set up a lemonade stand. Opportunities to make money now are so much different. Like, go and find another hustle. You don't have to be good at something. You just got to start at it.
Yep, I agree. So we're talking about income too small. So what happens when you have an income that's too small? Your savings is also too small. How the heck do you fix one problem when it's being caused by the previous problem, Otis?
You know what? It's really hard, because when you consider, okay, people are not making enough money. So like, how is it even possible for them to even save? When you look at numbers, again, statistics show that the average checking account right now is $8,000. Okay. Average checking account, $8,000. The median retirement right now is $87,000. You can go source this, CNBC, right? And there's a problem with that, because how do you get ahead? Okay, so it's like you can't have one without the other, right? Because let's just go back and just say maybe you do make a little bit more money. Well, if you don't have the discipline, then that's another part of why people don't know how to save, right? Because they weren't raised that way. We came from a generation of baby boomers where we were taught to, like, go to school, get the good education, and then live for the weekends, and then most of your money is blown. You have that in the category. And then you have the non-discipline that comes from that, right? Just kind of living from, what we call robbing from Peter to pay Paul. Then you just have what we've been discussing. There's no money. Like, how? And then you run into things like life. You have to repair a roof, right? Your car blows a motor, right? You got a sickness in the family, right? All of these things are just kind of wrapped into one, right? But the real solution is what, Jeff? What would you say? I want you to give your take. I'm gonna give my take, because the solution is gonna kind of tie into what we've been talking about. But what would you say your solution is?
I don't know if I would call it a solution, but one thing that I do want to identify is that it's a behavioral problem too, and it's the way we look at it. Because we're saying, savings too small. That is probably the part of the issue, that we think about just saving. A lot of people don't think about investing it. So idle money versus money that's actually growing are two different things. If you're already saving a little bit, damn, you might as well start investing a little bit too, because that actually could get you a little further ahead. So I think that is actually one of the solutions too, because we'll sit down with people and some people will tell us, well, I don't have enough to save right now, right? Man, whatever you have, you got to save it though, because if you don't start at least something with this little habit, with this little bit that you have, if you don't start the habit now, when you get more money, you're not going to start a new habit all of a sudden, right? You have to be trusted with little so you can get more at some point. But I'm curious, what was your solution that you were looking for?
My solution is 2 words, right? Literacy. Because I believe the more you know about money, the better you do with it down the line. And it goes back to what you said. Okay, so maybe you don't have enough, but you should have the disciplines that are in place. Like nobody plants a seed and expects shade tomorrow from the tree, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to come with over time. One of the things in financial literacy is investing that we naturally talk about. There's other little rules of interest, compound interest, and things like that we could surely explain on a different episode. But the concept of having the discipline to just start at some point. Listen, I got a gentleman right now who's been working at UPS for the last 30, almost 40 years, and he's retiring with millions of dollars. And what he didn't realize was that he started this habit some 30, 40 years ago. And now the shade that we're talking about from the tree that has grown for him, it just started at just this small seed of let me get disciplined. This small seed of, hey, I know that I should be saving, but like ready or not, I should just kind of get this thing going. So when we talk about saving too small, yes, it does come from not having enough money, but it also comes from the lack of financial literacy. and not surrounding yourself with people. Now, granted, society's got a whole nother banged up job when it comes to not providing that. You know, there's only only 4 states in the United States that actually teach on financial literacy, right? Yeah. But now that you can't even blame that. Like, you can go and accidentally get good information nowadays on YouTube University. Like, you know, wherever the mind goes, dude, you can freaking find it, right? So savings can be fixed, but you gotta turn on the radar. Like, what are you looking for right now? Who are you looking for? Who's in that space? We're all connected now. This is different than when I grew up, right? When I grew up, this was like, you couldn't find it. Now you can.
Yeah, you're talking about radar. So obviously you're talking about mind. Let's switch to that last one. Thinking too small, right? Thinking is a huge component to the first two. And many people may not even realize that. Heck, I remember I didn't even realize that at one point, right? I think back to, I don't know, 7 years, 8 years ago, I'm not even thinking that I'm not making enough money. I'm just thinking, hey, this is life. And then at some point, something kind of hits, something clicks where you kind of look at the bank account, you look at what you're doing, and you look around, and you're like, dude, something's wrong. Something's got to change. And, you know, it's crazy because I really do feel like COVID happened to all of us for a reason, right? It really brought the entrepreneur out of the right people. You know, a lot of people tried stuff, but the right people stuck with it. And the right people actually got the idea that, you know what, we can really make something happen for ourselves. So I want you to talk about thinking too small, because you're actually someone that's preached this a lot before. How does thinking too small keep you in the rat race, per se?
In several ways. I mean, that's a really good question. It keeps you in several ways. I think that, so first of all, God gave me a sound mind, so I can think on my own. But that's defined thinking. I just pulled this up. And how it's defined here, and this is per ChatGPT, it says, thinking is mental process of generating, manipulating, and organizing ideas, information, and experiences to solve problems, make decisions, and understand the world, right? We live now in a time where you can't afford to think small, because the information that is produced over the last 20, 25 years has covered more than the last the last 2,000 years with the information that's in print. So when it comes to thinking small, right, you have to think that most people, they think small because they just get stuck because there's so many different things to do, right?
Yeah.
So ask yourself this question, Jeff, and then we can jump back and forth with this. But on average, how many books do you think the average person reads per year?
Ooh.
And I'm not talking about school books. I'm talking about the average person, like on their own leisure, they actually seek out for this. How much does the average person read per year?
I'm going to say 3.
You're way off.
What is it?
You're way off. The average person barely reads 1 book cover to cover.
Man.
So if it comes down to small thinking, it's small thinking because the same level of consciousness that created the problem is not the same level of consciousness that's going to come up with the solution, right? So when it's small thinking, that's because it's you who are self-generating it, right? So like you have all of these files on how you used to do things, and you're not opening up other files, i.e. associations, i.e. books, right? i.e. mentors, coaches, things like that. So it leaves you in this small thinking. Make sense?
Yeah.
Like it leaves you in this pile of, I got to do things the way that I used to do it, or I only do things the way that I used to do it, right? This is why it's important to read. This is why it's important to get around big thinkers. This is why it's important when Jeff was going through, you know, building his business like he just talked about in 2020. And he was like, yo, like, I'm doing dog training, and I meet him and he's got some success in it. And I said, dude, that's not a dog business. You just got a business training dogs, right? That's because there's a bigger scale to thinking, right? And with that bigger scale, here's what I wrote down. The bigger scale, what it produces is this, right? I want everybody to hear this, and don't define it just because it's coming from my bias. But you need to adopt an entrepreneur's mind. You don't have to become an entrepreneur, but you need to adopt what it means to become an entrepreneur thinker. right?
Yeah.
Because what do entrepreneurs do? They solve problems. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how they make money, right? So maybe if you took that mind and then you went, okay, I need to put myself in the middle of the wilderness, because I can guarantee you this. If you throw most of the audience in the middle of a burning building, you drop us off on an island, guess what? We don't have to be journeymen. We don't have to be, nomads, right? But I guarantee you this, we start to figure it out. Just the same way, if you threw yourself in the middle of a situation, you begin to figure this thing out. Man, I'm freaking fired up.
You are fired. It's really good that you said you don't have to become an entrepreneur, but you have to think like one. Because I go back to the times where I didn't think like an entrepreneur, and the only thing that going through your mind during that time is like survival, right? Once you become the entrepreneur, you're thinking like, how can I expand something? Expansion is what becomes like the forefront of your mind. Back then it was, how do I pay bills? Now it's, okay, how do I build wealth? It's two different mindsets, and it has everything to do with the way you're thinking. But when you sit down with certain people, they're thinking too small, so that's not even coming to their mind, which is why they keep their income too small, which is why their saving never grows, and which is why their thinking just stays the same. So guys, if you're trying to level up, I want you to really take heed of those three things that we just talked about. Yep. Savings too small, income's too small, thinking too small. If you could flip those on their head, man, you're going to be on your way to a very good 2026. So yeah, Otis, I'll let you land the plane, man.
I'll tell you, if this resonates with you when this video is posted, I want you to comment challenged, okay? Not like we're challenging you, but you've been challenged by one of these areas, all three of these areas, and spread the message, because you know that there's a lot of truth in this, okay? Maybe what we're saying is just, some of it you can't agree with, but I'm sure that you can agree with one of those three. And if you can, then share the message, right? Because, we want to be able to get this out to the audience. So with that, episode 6, season 4, man, it's going to come to an end right here. Looking forward for the next topic, man. I cannot wait to deliver. I look forward to seeing you guys on the other side. Adios.
Later, guys.